Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles Sabanson, and welcome you guys to another episode of the DREAMERSPRO Show. We cover everything from sports, hot topics, classic debates, entertainment, and we'll give you guys a fresh perspective on things. And we see them. And today we're going to be talking a little bit about the WNBA. But before we get into that, please make sure you like the video and sub to the channel, and also be sure to check out the DREAMERSPRO podcast that we have pinned in the comments below. So, recently Charles Barkley had a sit down on Outkick. And he was talking about a bunch of different things, but there was one particular topic that he also weighed in on, which was basically this drama that's been surrounding the WNBA. As you guys know, there was that major spat that took place on ESPN between Stephen A. Smith and Monica McNutt. Of course, Shannon Sharp and Molly Curran were there, and in the aftermath of that, a bunch of people weighed in to give their thoughts on what took place on television. Now, during our coverage of that brouhaha that took place on ESPN, I said that there's a lot of drama surrounding the WNBA. And actually, one of our viewers messaged me. She's a lady, and she's like, "What do you mean?" No, I there was a post that I put on my Instagram story. If you guys are not following me on Instagram, my handle is CTABANZ, and I said that, when will the drama stop? That's what I wrote under the picture on my story. And she goes, "What drama are you talking about?" And then I responded to her. I said, "Look, I guess all press is good press, but a lot of the press that we have around that's circulating around the WNBA has very little to do with the game itself, and a lot to do with the storylines surrounding the game. And basically, a lot of this has to do, this particular issue here, some of it at least, has to do with the foul, the hard play that took place on Caitlin Clark. And people are talking about that. You've had various voices weighing, like Matt Barnes, say, well, why aren't they protecting her, and all of these different things. So it's centered on drama, not so much about entertainment, but more so about drama, at least from my view and the view of others. So what happened? While Charles Barkley was on Outkick, they asked him to weigh in on this particular story, and Charles Barkley basically went at the WNBA, because essentially his point was they are doing a terrible job at protecting the golden goose, in this case in Caitlin Clark. So really that's what he decided to focus on. So what we want to do is want to play exactly what Charles Barkley had to say here, and then want to come back and react to his comments. Take a listen to what Charles Barkley had to say there.
Would you ever think you'd be on Inside the NBA talking about the WNBA protecting somebody from violence, like and being women being petty and all that? You ever think, you know what I mean?
Hey, Dan, no, I thought, like, man, these girls getting ready to hit the lottery. I mean, this is a great time to be a woman in the WNBA. With these young girls coming in, especially Caitlin. I mean, what she's done for the game the last couple of years. I mean, she is a shining star. I mean, and the thing I like about her, man, she doesn't say a word.
Right.
I mean, yeah, she's never said a word about anybody. She just shows up and does her job. And you knew it was going to be a growth period for her, because all rookies, it's a shock to your system. Kobe Bryant struggled. Charles Barkley struggled. Everybody struggled. I tell people it was going to be a struggle, because she's going to adjust. She's going to get stronger. She's going to adjust to the speed of the game and the physicality. But I didn't think she was going to have to worry about all this petty nonsense that's going on. And I've heard a lot of people get varied opinion. And I was like, well, listen, this is not the old days where any publicity is good publicity. It's really bad publicity for the WNBA, because you know why? We're not talking about basketball. Anytime you have a sport, especially a niche sport, and you're talking about negativity instead of how great Aja Wilson is, how great New York, the Liberty are, Connecticut Sun playing well. You got the great Diana Taurasi out there. Got Angel Reese doing something in Chicago. So when you're talking about all this pettiness and negativity, you're not talking about the game. And so I felt bad. I was mad, because I'm like, guys, we're not even talking about basketball. And like I say, yeah, she's going to undergo some rookie hazing, but clearly there's some overboard going on. If you go back and look at that play, you can tell the way the Chicago Sky's bench jumped for joy when she knocked that girl down. They were like, way to go knocking her down. You can just tell. It's like, whoa, that's a little much. Yeah, and I had no problem. We've always gave rookies a little bit of the business, but you can just tell that they've been going overboard. Like I say, if you look at the Chicago's bench when they knock her down, they all jump up and say yes. So you can tell they're doing a little too much, and it's really unfortunate because she's bringing so much notoriety to the game. I mean, I watched more college basketball in the last 2 years, women-wise, than I have my entire life. I mean, it's been must-see TV. I mean, the rating for the last two Final Fours, they're the highest-rated games in ESPN history for basketball games. Not just men and women, just women, for men and women. And the thing that also I'm like, they act like she didn't earn it. I'm like, the woman just set the record for the most points ever scored by a man or a woman. They're like, well, she's only getting this shine because she's white. I'm like, well, is race a factor? Yes, race is a factor, but her resume speaks for itself. She just set the record for the most points ever scored by a man or a woman.
So you heard what Charles Barkley had to say. Do you know what? This particular story has so many layers that I don't even know what to think anymore. Why am I saying this? I came across a clip from Art of Dialogue that was recommended to me with today, as a matter of fact, with Dr. Omar Johnson, who was there, and he was reacting to this. He was talking about the WNBA, Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, and he was going at some various figures. I think Charles Barkley, Shannon Sharp, and who else did he go at? I think LeBron James and someone else. Pretty long segment. And the angle he took was an angle that I hadn't even considered. And the angle he took was basically, why are people trying to demonize all the other athletes that were in the WNBA that kind of laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and then take the league to where it is, right? So he was speaking from that standpoint. The standpoint I believe Charles Barkley is speaking from is, he's saying, and I think he was making sort of the similar point that Stephen A. Smith made without there being jealous comments. But essentially what he was saying was, Caitlin Clark is bringing in a lot of attention into the league. She's not the only one, I might add. Angel Reese is doing as well. They're having record numbers, attendance, and all of that. But basically what he's saying is that these figures are bringing a lot of attention to the WNBA. And the current players stand to make a lot of money because of all the new eyeballs, who's going to bring in new sponsors, no revenue. You get how it works. So he's saying, why not ensure that that's being protected? Now, it is important to state that today, June 8th, that Caitlin Clark recently published or released a statement where she said that she doesn't believe there's anything foul or evil taking place. She just believes that everybody's being competitive. That she doesn't think there's, any hidden agendas or anything like that. So that's what she says. She just says that she's up for it. Players are just, the other athletes are just playing competitive basketball, right? So she believes that to be the case, that she's not being targeted or anything like that. I think Charles Barkley's overarching point is that, the WNBA needs to do whatever it takes to protect their golden goose. Now, is there precedence for this? I believe there is, and I'll tell you why. I'm going to go back to the NBA because I've heard former athletes like John Sally basically say that the NBA in certain instances made sure that you protected Michael Jordan because he was the cash cow for the NBA, the biggest cash cow they've ever seen, if we're talking about interest and eyeballs and all of that. So the league would ensure that he's protected. I've also heard Gilbert Arenas allude to things like, you're not going to see somebody go hit LeBron James or something like that. Like, that's never going to happen and stuff like that because the NBA would never, you get what I'm saying? Because these are the faces of the league. Right, so Angel Reese, Caitlin Clark, these athletes, these women seem to be the face of the WNBA, and so therefore they need to be protected. That's at least how I'm interpreting what Charles Barkley is saying. I could be 100% wrong, and he's saying I believe that the WNBA needs to do a better job of that. That's just my view. I could be 100% wrong. That's just how I see it. So what I want to know from the audience is simply this: how do you interpret the comments that Charles Barkley just made? Whatever you guys think, leave your thoughts in the comments, and we catch you guys on the next show. Peace.